Welcome to 10-Minute Murder, brief and bingeable true crime. I'm Joe, I am the host, and thank you for joining today. Do you guys have a kid, like a nearly grown human being that you are in charge of? I've got one of those, and I get roasted every single day. I don't know what's happening with this generation of kids. Now, I grew up roasting people. It's like no big deal. But this generation is relentless. I mean, they will find the smallest little weakness, the most mundane thing, and they'll attack it. For example, I got told that I look like I drink tap water. It doesn't make any sense to me. By the way, I do drink tap water. I happen to live in a place where tap water tastes delicious, so I drink it. I was just talking about something to my kid, and I said something about tap water, and he just stopped and looked at me and said, "You look like you drink tap water." And I deal with that daily. Is anyone else going through this? I hope so. I hope I'm not the only one. Hey, if this is your first time listening to 10-Minute Murder, please subscribe now so that you can catch up on all the back episodes and never miss any new ones. Connect with me on social media to see the visuals that we talk about here on the podcast. And if you like the episode, please leave a rating and review on Apple or any place that's possible. Your positive feedback is very much appreciated. Go to 10minutemurder.com for all things related to 10-Minute Murder. Now to today's story. Lora Grace Duncan's body was found face down on the floor of a hotel bathroom. She had been at the beach earlier that day and was wearing only her one-piece swimsuit at the time of her death. Her cause of death was pretty easy to discover. The 18-year-old was surrounded by a puddle of blood coming from a bullet wound in her stomach. It was a lonely, undignified way to die. The teenager's body was found after the Riviera Beach Police Department received a phone call on the morning of October 29, 2020, requesting a welfare check on Lora. The call came from Lora's father, Burton Duncan, who was worried about his daughter's well-being. Desperate to find his daughter safe, Burton resorted to tracking the location on the phone, which led him to the Hilton Hotel on Riviera Beach. He pleaded with the police to go to the hotel and check on Lora. It wasn't just her radio silence that worried him. It was also the person he knew that she had last been seen with. Recently, 18-year-old Lora had started dating a man 3 times her age. She had met Michael Hutto, who was 54 at the time and had 4 children and a wife of his own, at the gym that she went to. Michael was a highly successful businessman who had founded a popular lifestyle brand called Salt Life, which he had then sold in 2013. Charismatic, personable, and well-liked, Lora quickly developed a crush on the older man, which he reciprocated. Lora was excited about her new relationship, which felt sophisticated and made her feel special. Her parents, however, did not share these same feelings. When they got a text from their daughter informing them that she was going traveling with Michael, they waited anxiously for 1 day without communication and then reported her as missing. The sheriff's office sent a deputy to Lora's parents' home, and while the deputy was there, Lora called home. But her parents weren't reassured. She sounded strange over the phone, slurring her words and seeming very anxious. They believed that Michael had given drugs to Lora. She just didn't sound like herself. Was Michael drugging Lora to keep her subdued while he harmed her in some way? If anything, the phone call just made Lora's parents more certain that something was terribly wrong. Lora's father called the police again and requested that they check on his daughter. When the officers arrived at the Hilton, the hotel staff revealed that Lora had booked a room with Michael and directed them to the suite where the couple were staying. The officers knocked on the door, but there was no reply. So the hotel staff unlocked the room. Immediately, the strong smell of decomposition hit the investigators, confirming that something was terribly wrong inside the hotel room. Following the odor led them to the bathroom, where they found Lora's body. She was clearly deceased and had been for a while, long enough for the pool of blood underneath her to have dried completely. But the staff knew that Lora hadn't arrived alone. In fact, the room itself had been booked under Michael's name, and the couple had been staying there together. A search of the room quickly located Michael's wallet, as well as his driver's license, both of which have been left behind. But where was Michael himself? Examining the surveillance footage from the hotel's CCTV cameras quickly provided the answer. The last sighting of Michael in the footage showed him hurriedly leaving the hotel with only a backpack full of his belongings before quickly driving away. Lora had been with her boyfriend, a man that she trusted, and somehow this short trip away had resulted in Michael leaving Lora bleeding and alone on the floor of a hotel bathroom. The police immediately sent out an alert requesting any information on Michael's whereabouts, and they didn't have to wait long before they were contacted by the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office, who reported an encounter they had with a member of the public on the previous day. On October 29th, a gas station attendant in St. Augustine had called the sheriff's office after a man, clearly under the influence of drugs, walked into the gas station begging for help. The man was twitching, talking gibberish, and crying, with his eyes rolling back in his head. The man was rushed to the hospital for treatment, and the hospital staff found out two key pieces of information. The first one was that he was suffering from a drug overdose, and the second one was that the man was none other than Michael Hutto. He'd arrived at the gas station around 4 hours after leaving the hotel, and presumably around 4 hours after Lora had been shot. After hearing that their prime suspect was still hospitalized, police arrived at the ward to question Michael, who was now lucid and able to answer their questions. Investigators didn't beat around the bush, immediately asking Michael if he knew why they wanted to talk to him. Michael didn't try to hide it. "Oh my God," he said, "I think I hurt my Gracie." Then he burst into tears. As it turned out, Michael didn't call Lora by her given name. He gave her the nickname Gracie, which is who he was referring to. Police took a recorded statement from Michael about the incident, and the older man sobbed the entire time, seeming genuinely distraught. The next day, in a second conversation with detectives, Michael was able to give more information about the events that led to Lora's death. He told them that during their trip away together, they had been spending time on the beach and had returned to the hotel room to relax. At some stage, they began playing a game where they pointed their fingers at each other in a gun shape, pretending to shoot at each other. "It was a joke," he said. "It was just a joke." According to Michael, this somehow evolved into Michael pointing a real gun at Lora as a part of the joke. Then the gun went off, firing a bullet which hit Lora in the abdomen. Why exactly Michael had the gun and why it was loaded was not made clear. His memories of the events were blurry, or at least he wanted investigators to believe that they had been. Marijuana was also found in the hotel room, and the theory that Lora had indeed been on drugs when she called her parents seemed more and more likely. Given that Michael had been suffering from an overdose when he arrived at the gas station, it was possible that a drug-addled haze had led to the gun going off. However, it was equally possible that the drugs had caused a fit of rage, which had led Michael to murdering his much younger girlfriend. One part of the story in particular brought how much Michael actually cared for Lora into doubt. After the shooting, Michael left Lora and his wallet behind, but remembered to pack his medication and his weapon into his backpack before leaving. It's not clear if Lora was dead when Michael left, but she was certainly dying, and he made no attempt to call for an ambulance or police. He didn't even alert hotel staff to the fact that she needed help. He just left. Possibly she could have survived with urgent medical care. A bullet wound to the stomach is serious, but it's not always a death sentence. Michael did not wait around to find out. In 2023, almost 3 years after Lora's death, Michael Hutto was found guilty of manslaughter with a firearm, a charge to which he pled guilty. He received a sentence of 12 years in prison and cried in court while a sentence written by Lora's family was read to him. Michael's defense attorney said this about the case, quote, "It was an accident, a stupid, tragic, heartbreaking accident that basically ruined two families. He loved Grace Duncan. I know it sounds odd to say that because of their age difference and the nature of their relationship, but he absolutely loved her." Regardless if Michael truly loved Gracie, or if he truly did not mean to harm her when the trigger was pulled, his love led to her dying alone because of a gunshot wound that he inflicted. Nobody would think that a relationship between a married man in his 50s and an 18-year-old would have a happy ending, but Lora's family never could have predicted that it would truly end in tragedy.